So to talk to you about how I tie it, this particular one, I'm using the small hook. This is the same as the setup that I use in the spring. I'm using small hook baits, which haven't got that much buoyancy to them, so I'm using a small hook so it all sits off the bottom really well. So to tie it, first of all I tie the upright section, and that is tied out of a material called mouth trap. Now it's a very, very stiff monofilament material. Once you've worked with it for a little while, it becomes just as easy to tie as any other hook link material. So first of all, I tie just a 2-turn half blood knot in that material onto a size 11 ring swivel. Pull that really tight, cut the tag end off really short, and then I tie the hook on, and that allows me to get the upright section as long or as short as I want. I mean, this one's pretty short. I like fishing them quite close to the bottom, especially in this situation where I'm putting a few boilies out as well. If you were tying it the other way round and tying the hook on first, you would find it very, very difficult to get it as short as that. So once that swivel's tied on, I thread the line through the eye of the hook, and then I make a big loop underneath the hook. This is my whipping knot that I tie most of my hooks on with. With the front of that loop, I wrap it around the hook once, going up the hook, and then wrap it around again, going down the hook towards the eye. Carry on wrapping round, so I go around 5 times, and then the tiny little tag end at the top of the hook, basically that gets pulled tight, and that's what tightens the knot down. I then wet everything and pull it really, really tight, and then slide it back down the shank of the hook so it sits against the eye like it is now. I then cut off that tag end, thread a medium-sized Rigg ring onto it, and then poke it back through the eye of the hook. And that's the other advantage of this particular knot. With the knotless knot, you'd have to go through the eye of that hook 3 times. With this one, you only have to go through it twice. So it's much, much easier to get that tag end bent round, Rigg ring on, poke it through the eye of the hook, cut it really short, and then burn it with a lighter, and that's what forms the D on the back of the hook. And the reason this one hooks them so well, I think, is because the bait and the hook are really close together, but there is still some movement there. The bait's not getting in the way of the hook when it turns and catches hold. So moving down from that, you'll see that the boom section is made out of a stiff coated material. This is hybrid stiff, my favourite coated material ever. I use it for bottom baits and pop-ups as well. The beauty of it in this situation is that you can crimp it. So I'm basically using the small size crimp, a 0.6mm crimp. That material only just goes through it, and that makes it really, really strong. It's actually stronger than tying a knot in it. It doesn't work in the softer material. So N-trap soft, N-trap semi-stiff, those two don't work. They don't break, but it actually strips the coating off when you put it under tension. This hybrid stiff is so tough on the outside that that doesn't happen. And in this, if you're going to tighten a knot, it breaks at 20 pound. With a crimp, it breaks at over 30 pound. So it's very, very simple to do and very strong as well. So once you've poked it through one barrel, go through the ring swivel, back through the other barrel, pull it up really tight. That's really important. That creates loads of friction and makes it stronger. And then squeeze down with the crimping tool and make sure it's squeezed down evenly all the way along. And you can test it with a Rigg tool as well if you want. Pull it really, really tight. If it's going to go, it will go straight away if you've got it wrong. If you've got it right, you just won't be able to break it in your hands. And then moving down to the other end, I've done exactly the same thing. Through the double barrel crimp once, round the ring swivel, back through again, crimp it down really tight with it pulled up really tight to the swivel, and that's it. Pretty much the rig is done. At the end underneath the hook, I've got my counterbalance, which is dark matter putty, wrapped around the crimp. Yeah, so it's very, very sticky, that putty. I've just moulded it around, and I've got just enough on there so that the bait sinks pretty quickly. In this situation, it's very windy. I don't want the bait flying around if there is any water movement out there. And also, you know, I'll put bait out in the swim. The fish are going to be moving around reasonably quickly at this time of the year. I don't want it wafting up everywhere. In the spring, I might basically balance it so it's only just sinking. The fish are very lethargic then. There's no other bait in the swim to get them going and get them moving around quick. And then you want the hook bait to fly up into their mouth really easily. But most of the time, as a default setting for me, I have that pop-up sinking quite quickly. Now, to make it look lovely and pretty like this, I've basically steamed it. I've used a solar Rigg comb, which is a brilliant bit of kit, put the hook into that Rigg comb, put it over the steam, and that achieves that lovely little curve in it. So it's basically acting like a bent hook without any of the problems of a bent hook. So it turns and catches hold really quickly. And then I've steamed the hook link straight, basically, so when it goes down onto the bottom, it sits out perfectly like that, and that also helps reduce tangles. If it gets kinked when you're fishing, just steam it again, or if it's all straight in your Rigg box and you want to use it, put it in the Rigg cone, steam it again, and it will sit absolutely perfectly like that.